humans aren't born out of laying around on their asses. We've been born out of conquering a world. We're the dominant species. We built all this. We're powerful, and we're beautiful, and we're ready to build the next level of civilization in God's plan. But you must stop bowing to those who want to make you a victim. You must become the victor. If you love God and you want to build a pro-human future, then you are an enemy of the New World Order and Satanism. They want us shut down because we have the Spirit. I'm jacked into the source. I know the secret, and I want to see you empowered. But you have to believe in yourself first. This is the truth, and everyone knows it.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's been absolutely hysterical watching people on the left try to make sense of the 2024 election and watching them try to piece things together to come up with some sort of cohesive narrative after their entire worldview was shattered. Enter Asmongold looking like a crazy person, and essentially in this video he comes up with a bunch of different things that he tries to piece together. But he says something very, very interesting in here. First of all, he says something that I do not believe to be true, that there is a radical, noticeable, drastic increase in quote-unquote racism. Now, he doesn't prove that there's any racism. He doesn't show any examples. He just says it on Twitter. That there's just a marked increase in racism on Twitter. I've not seen it. It's not been in my experience. Maybe it's because the people that he surrounds himself with are extremely left-wing, and those people do tend to be the most racist people on the planet. But generally speaking, the vibe on Twitter is actually not bad. It's actually pretty good. You know, you have your, you've got your nut jobs and stuff, but there seems to be a renewed energy. But he also goes on to say something, and he goes on to say that these people on the left, that they're worshiping the god of censorship because they figured out that, this God, this God that you and I, who are Christian, believe in, that God didn't exist, and that God is fake, and he's not real. And all these people who are, mentally ill and retarded and degenerate and demonic and just absolute human filth, they've apparently found the secrets to the universe and realized that God's not real. Along with Asmongold. And that's the determination. Yeah, the God's not real. And so, because God's not real to Asmon, then these people have found another God. And it's so remarkable to me to watch this play out. No, people have abandoned God. It's not that God is dead. It's like, there's that movie God's Not Dead with Kevin Sorbo. No, it's not that God died. It's that you have a bunch of people who have decided that for whatever reason, they don't have to worship God. They can worship themselves. And the more that they do that, the more that we watch society just absolutely slide off a cliff, because God is real, Jesus is real, the Bible is real, it is a foundational document. The fact that Asmon doesn't understand this, despite witnessing the moral decay and the degeneracy and the state of the world that is abandoned, the state of the world that culturally for the last 10 years or 15 years has abandoned faith, it doesn't mean that everyone has given up on God. By no means. In fact, there's a resurgence, which is an amazing thing. But I want you to listen to what Asmongold says here, and we're going to talk about it because I think it's a very interesting perspective. I disagree with him about as vehemently as you can disagree with somebody, but I do think it's important to let him say his piece.
People. That's the reason anybody who can speak. And so that's happened, I think, as we think about this from an abstract. I think that you need to come to the realization that people don't like being told what to think, they don't like being told what to say, and they don't like being told that, and they don't want to be told what to do, right?
That part is true. That part I absolutely agree with.
I mean, at the end of the day, and so anybody who's trying to take an authoritarian stance, trying to tell you what to do, you're going to automatically get a negative response from that, at least here in the United States. And so that's happened, I think, as a result of COVID. Elon Musk buys Twitter, and now all of the people who didn't exist are making up for lost time. Like, I'm not saying this is a good thing, but holy shit, there is a lot of racism on Twitter now.
There's literally not. Like, I don't know what he defines racism as. I'm not sure by what metric because he doesn't really explain. But I've not experienced it. It's not on my timeline. I'm not going through and seeing all this, overt racism. I will say that I have been appreciating the memes of Japan, where you have basically these people, these black people who were going over there and causing trouble on the trains, and they're putting out signs that I think are funny. But no, I don't see this huge shift in racism. I don't see it at all. I don't know who he's liking or following, but I've not seen a market increase. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think I am. When I go on my timeline, I don't see a bunch of racism. I think this is just something that people say because I don't know why they say it. I don't know. It doesn't appear to be true from my point of view.
Oh my god. And do you want to know why there's
Like, it would be helpful. Like, it would genuinely be helpful. Asman will never watch this video, but Asman, it would have been helpful if you would have, like, shown a couple examples. Like, things that were, like, overtly racist that would have brought you to the point where you're, like, incredulous. Because I don't know what it is. I haven't seen it.
a lot of racism on Twitter? I'll tell you why. It's because there's a lot of racist people.
That's retarded. That is genuinely, astonishingly retarded. So you mean to tell me the country that voted in Obama twice was just hiding their racists? Or do you think that we're more racist now? Is that what's happened? So all the people that voted for Obama are now, I mean, they just snap, like Thanos snapped. And all of a sudden they're, no. Asman, I think what you're saying here is just logically inconsistent. I think it's a perception of the people you surround yourself with and the preconceptions that you have about the American people and the culture in general. But I'm here to tell you that it's full of shit. It's absolute bullshit. Um, Most people are not racist. No, that is a complete and total fabrication. That is a left wing construct. And I understand you're a left wing person, but it's just bullshit. Most people will get along with people of any race if they are part of the same culture, if they're part of the same religion, or if they're part of the same tribe. It has very, 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 very little to do with race from the perspective of somebody like me who's conservative. There are people in my church congregation who are black. Do you think? I'm gobsmacked by his approach here because it's just so observably not true. Now, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong on this. You guys leave a comment in the section below. Let me know what you think.
the reason anybody who can speak English all over the world, except for maybe a couple of countries, a few countries, probably more like it, can make a Twitter account and express exactly what they think. And so, big surprise.
So he's not talking about America. He's talking about foreign countries. Like, I don't know. I don't follow a lot of people from foreign countries. All right, so I'm going to give Asmongold the benefit of the doubt here. I understand my Twitter page is a fraction of the size of Asmon's. I have about 500 subscribers or followers. Maybe it's the case that when you're as big as he is, maybe it attracts a certain type of person, or maybe his content attracts a certain type of person. Maybe that's the case, that it's not so much that everyone is racist, It's that his content and his demeanor and the way that he presents things attracts the most toxic and aggressive element that come into his chat that enters into his orbit. That's just a speculation on my part, but it seems to make more sense than his presupposition that everyone or most people are racist, or that there's a lot of racism. There's really not. When you go into the real world, you don't find racism very often. It's just not a thing that you encounter on the day to day. On the internet sometimes, but even then, I mean, it's very rare. I don't find a lot of racism on my timeline or in my in my videos or anything.
Surprise, you're going to have people that live in totally different cultures expressing viewpoints that are not congruent with liberal Western values. And this has been a very, very upsetting reality for many people that use Twitter, but in my opinion, I find it to be a very sobering fact. I think it's extremely important to know what people are actually thinking rather than having a manicured, curated, and censored view of the world that immediately shatters whenever you introduce it to actual reality, which is what I think happened with the 2024 election. I think that people imagined this was going to happen because all of the celebrities said this was going to happen. All of mainstream media said this was going to happen. And then the day comes and it's actually something totally different. And I think that what this has really happened is that people are pushing back against basically there is a false god of authoritarianism that a lot of people online have prescribed to. They have been worshiping this false god. And I think that they are doing that because their other previous gods were determined to be false. There's always the quote of God is dead from Nietzsche, but that's only half of the quote. The full quote is God is dead and we have killed him. I think that the society that's totally killed God, there's no sense of religion in culture anymore.
That is just absolutely patently false. Now, again, I think this is a case of Asmongold living in a system. Basically, this guy wakes up, he, has food, he gets in front of a computer screen, he interacts with people, on Twitch, that again is very atheistic in nature. It's very sort of degenerate and, sort of, we don't want to be told what to do, but also, we want to goon and, give our life savings to Pokimane and be a tier 3 sub. But this guy doesn't really interact with real people in the real world. This guy is perpetually online. That's not a knock on him. But for him to say that Christianity is out of culture is just absolutely tone deaf. Especially now. Like, we have seen a resurgence in Christianity over the past, I'd say over the past year. And admittedly, it's not as much as I would like. But the fact of the matter is that to say that God is dead and we killed him, and to quote Nietzsche, and to try to come up with this, these left-wing people, they're enlightened. They discovered that God is not real. No, these people are freaks. They're demons. They're degenerate, self-worshipping, assholes. They don't like the idea of God because if there is a God, I can't be as disgusting and degenerate and filthy and demonic and barbaric and just cruel, and I can't do all this shit that I want to do, so I'm just going to pretend he doesn't exist. Well, I hate to tell you this, but there's going to come a time where you're going to pay for that short-sighted decision. And so I think that Asmongold's approach here is just, again, I think that it's tone deaf. I think that this guy doesn't really have friends or people around him who are religious. I think that he is somebody that is constantly inundated with, online behavior. So people like Hassan and Frogan and other people that are, just the worst of the worst. There is definitely a sickness in culture, but I don't think that, I don't think there has been this uniform rejection of Christianity. In fact, let me just type it into Google. Let me ask, how many Christians in America? So, Asman, I understand you may think that, but according to the 2023 PRI Census of American Religion, 66% of Americans identify as Christian. 66%. That is a majority of the country. Estimates from 2021 suggest that of the entire U.S. population, 321 million, about 63%. So this says 66% as of 2023. That's on the incline. So this says in 2021 it was 63%. 2023 this says 66%. My point is, this is the Pew Trust. So this is just pure. They're just speculating of this that it's going to decline to 35% by 2070. I don't know. We could not be alive by 2070, so there's no real way to know. But look at this. There's a large number of whites who are Christian, a large number of people of color who are Christian. 25%. That's a large number. The fact that 66% of the country is Christian is not insignificant. And to say that, well, I live on Twitch, I exist on Twitch, so therefore the culture there isn't Christian, so therefore God is dead. Maybe I'm nitpicking too much on this one thing, but I think that the sentiment that he's expressing here is just patently wrong. I think it's absolutely, observably false.
And I think that's by the way, that's very upsetting for many people. Religion is a very reassuring thing for many people. I am not a religion enjoyer, personally. I think that you guys probably know that. I'm much more of an enlightened, euphoric atheist.
Yeah, there is nothing enlightened about atheism. There is nothing enlightened about atheism. Nothing. It is a regressive mindset. The presuppositions of atheism are all false, all completely and totally false. And we see that from everyone. Sam Harris is an example. Richard Dawkins, one of the four horsemen of the non-apocalypse, coming out and saying that he is a cultural Christian. The amazing atheist filming himself shoving a banana up his ass and putting it on the internet. Yeah, atheism is a joke. It's an absolute joke. And anyone who wears that as a badge of honor and considers themselves enlightened, you're just retarded. There's nothing else to really say.
But at the end of the day, I can recognize that it does have an ordering, I guess, like function in a lot of people's lives. And so when you're taking that away...
No, it's not just an ordering function, Asman. If you actually knew anything about the faith, and I mean actually went and learned about it, you'd realize that Jesus Christ is not just an ordering, oh, well, he just brings order to your life. No, there's a set of guiding principles that are foundational. They're non-negotiable. Which is why Christians are, it's not that they're better people than people who are non-Christians. It's just that they are able to recognize the flaws, able to recognize the errors, and work very, very hard to make sure that not only do they not embody that, but nobody in their vicinity embodies that, which creates a better society, a better people, a better way of life.
From people, and they don't have access to what would be a way to order the universe and a way to see how things are. They're going to invent their own way to order things, and I think that the way that they did that was they replaced religion with political dogma. And I think this has happened in a lot of cases. And really, people that attach their meaning and their identity and their feelings onto these different movements, I think that for many of them, they're looking for something that religion or some form of existential reassurance would give them. And I think that the movements, whether it's a political movement, whether it's a social movement, whether it's a social cause, I think that those movements actually for a lot of people now are filling the place that religion previously had. And I think that if you don't think that's true, just look at how they fucking defend him. I swear to God, there's people, you get less pushback for blasphemy in the.
Yeah. Well, no, it is a cult. There's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about it. It is absolutely a cult. The left is a cult. They're a cult of self-worshipping and self-loathing, degenerate, low IQ, bottom-feeding morons.
A lot of churches. And so, yes, people get very, very, very attached to these things because they built their entire identity off of them. And I think also this is especially true with young people. And with young people, it's that they've had unironic arrested development from COVID. And I think this is true not just, it's like, oh, the kids are retarded. No, no. I think this has happened for a lot of people, including young adults. And so you have people that spend, let's say the ages of, like 15 to 18 locked down in COVID. Well, big fucking surprise. Whenever they turn 18, they're not going to know how to act. And they're going to probably still be acting like 15-year-olds. And so you have people that have been developmentally, basically arrested, and they've taken 3 years of like social development and socialization, and just pretty much outsourced it to a social media website that's fed them a worldview that's completely distorted. It doesn't represent anything in real life. And now they go into real life, and the dissonance between what they believe the world should be and what the world is gets bigger and bigger, and I think it makes people angrier and angrier. And I think that that's really where a lot of the hostility is coming from. It's the refutation of those types of people that have used political dogma and social, like socio-political issues, and they've replaced religion with these things. It is a pushback against those people. And the reason why I think this pushback is happening is very simple. It's because people just don't want to hear what they're saying, and they don't agree with it. It's actually just that simple. And so for a long time, you were not able to express your disagreements. You were not able to tell anybody that, like, yeah, I don't actually think this is true. This isn't really what's happening. And because you would get banned. But that all changed when Elon Musk bought Twitter. Because when Elon Musk bought Twitter, everybody who had an opinion was able to say what that opinion was. For better or for worse.
Much
and
better.
I think that we've seen a lot of both of those. And so now what we've had is that we have tons of people that feel, uniquely emboldened in a way that they hadn't really in probably 10 years on social media, given the level of censorship and control. And now people are going and saying what they really think. And I think that they're doing so in a manner that is making up for lost time. And another big component for this is that I think that there has been what I would really kind of refer to as emotional blackmail that's been going on for a very, very long time, where you can't have certain opinions about certain topics because it can be perceived as being mean, or you can be seen as a bad person.
True.
I think that there's been a level of fatigue that is caused for people, and it's like eventually, like, for example, somebody thinking that they don't want illegal immigrants in their country, this doesn't necessarily mean that they're like a racist or a Nazi. And so because of that, and the emotional escalation and the emotional blackmail that people use in order to try to force people into having these certain types of worldviews, the optics of these arguments oftentimes become more important than the arguments themselves.
True.
It's kind of like what I've said before, is that
Yeah, a lot of times you see these disgusting freaks. They'll take a position that is counter to, a position that they had last week, a morally sane position, a reasonable position, because Trump said that he liked it. Trump said that this is good, so therefore, it's now bad. Like, Trump could say, I found the cure to cancer, and these disgusting, brain-dead, self-indulgent, self-worshipping, demonic freaks would make a play to say that, no, actually, cancer is good. No, cancer is good. Cancer does a lot of good.
the strongest argument isn't an argument. Many people do not operate based off of logic or reasoning. They operate based off of emotion and feeling and big.
No, most people base their decisions off of logic. Most people base their decisions off of logic. People on the left base their decisions off of emotion because they don't have any logic, and so that's the only thing that they have. But most everyday people, they use logic to make determinations about their day-to-day life. what's best for them, what's best for their family. Oh, what car are we going to get? We're going to go with the safer one, with all the safety features. People use logic way more than Asmongold is giving them credit for.
Surprise, that's been what's taken over a lot of things. And also, this is a very important component.
No, that's not true. So Asmongold is trying to do like this weird whataboutism. Like, oh, the left and right, they're both equal, they're both bad. No, no, the left is an evil cult of degenerate, satanic scum. Just the absolute bottom of the barrel. The most absolutely hideous, revolting, anti-human, just evil. The personification of evil. The people on the right, they're making decisions based on wanting to return to a sense of normalcy and common sense so that everyone can live in a world of logic. So, you talk about illegal immigration. That's a perfect example. For years now, our laws have been violated. People have been able to come into this country illegally. The government has handed them large sums of money. They've been staying in different types of hotels, and it's been unfair, and it's been absolutely devastating to local populations. Sometimes you have towns of 50,000 people, and they'll bring in 40,000 illegals. And so all these people need to go back. It needs to be made abundantly clear that we have the rule of law. A lot of these people are, I mean, they make the news. Of course, it's like, what did the media outlets say? Oh, only a couple apartment complexes were taken over by Venezuelan gangs. Like, that's the sort of thing, like, oh, this doesn't happen very much. Only a couple apartment buildings in Colorado got taken over by Venezuelan gangs. That's the sort of logic the media uses to try to downplay the significance of this, but the reality is that it's a big problem. So is the transgender issue. Because it's not just about a bathroom or men and women are playing sports, it's about a return to common sense and normalcy and decency, where you can define what a man and a woman is. But you have a cult of fanatic, just disgusting, bottom-feeding subhuman trash, a lot of which are in Hassan's audience, that go out of their way to try to make things more difficult and try to tear down society because they're in a cult and they think that they're doing some kind of righteous thing, and they're not. They're not enlightened, they're not decent, they're not normal. They're just the worst. Worst of the worst. And so if you want to go watch the rest of Asmongold's video, I think it's interesting, but I will always disagree with his perception on religion. I think he's... I don't think he's beyond redemption, but I think that once you get to a point where oh, I know everything. Because when you reject God, oh, I know better than all of the historians. I know better than the ecclesiastical authority. I've deemed all of this to be, nonsense. I've determined this. It's like that's a level of arrogance that I can't even begin to approach. It's just like the people that I've known in my life who have been Christian are the best people that you could ever meet anywhere. Just the honest to God best people. It's been an unbelievable blessing to my life to know these people. And so I find that you can judge the spirit of something based on the type of people that encompass that. Now, don't get me wrong. The Bible talks about fake Christians, and that's why it's so important to call out the phoniness, the fakeness, the grifters, the people who violate the law and violate the Spirit of God. It's important to call that stuff out, vocally, vociferously, and all that. But yeah, I disagree with Asman here. He made some good points. But it's just interesting watching people like him try to cope with the reality that the worldview that he thought existed in the world was just a facsimile. It was a facade. It never really existed. It was a left-wing manifestation, and all the while, normal people were still normal. There wasn't the division that we see today. There wasn't this overwhelming influx of racism. The most racist, sexist, low IQ people are the people on the left. And we see that every single time. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. See you next time.